Hey guys, Boris House from BK Forex. Welcome to our Forex Daily Technicals for 8/1/13. Euro gets ready for ECB. As always, trading Forex on margin carries a higher level of risk, and I ask you to read this disclaimer very carefully to understand all the risks associated with trading Forex on margin and to seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. Well, very interesting day in the FX today. Euro finally broke out through the 33 level that we're talking about on a relatively, I guess, dovish statement by the Fed in the sense that they didn't overtly decide or communicate when they're going to taper. They essentially left the position the same as they had before. We did move through the 33s, came back, kind of spiked out a little bit here, but still looks moderately bullish. Now, tomorrow is really going to tell whether this is going to be a what I would call a lower high, a swing high, if we start to break down to the downside, or whether we can push back and see if we can challenge this 34 level on a double top basis. And of course, it's going to be the ECB meeting for Mario Draghi. Not much is expected on the agenda, but the critical thing I think is going to be whether he upgrades the assessment of the economy in Eurozone, if he stops talking about the idea of negative interest rates, if he generally sounds a little more robust than he usually does, which is very dour, that could provide a lift for the euro and can push us all the way through the 34s. If, on the other hand, he comes in very dark and ominous, we can break back down. 32 is the key level on the support side here, but we could break down possibly all the way to 3150 on a downdraft if he communicates sort of either further weakness in the Eurozone or a much more accommodative monetary policy. One of the interesting things about, by the way, about the whole tango dance between ECB and the Fed is that while the Fed has been talking tough, it's actually been acting very weak. And while the ECB has been talking very weak, it's been actually acting very tough. What I mean by that is that QE out of the Fed has been enormous, while the ECB has generally only been talking but not doing too much in terms of stimulus and monetary policy. So the monetary stock out of Eurozone has actually contracted, and that's one of the reasons why the euro has acted so well. So technically, we kind of in this no man's land. 3350 takes us out and pushes us towards the 3400 test of the double top. 3200 break really puts in a negative move in the euro and basically creates a lower high on the euro here that could then push us all the way out to the 130 level on a intermediate term basis. So very much worth watching. The euro is the central story tomorrow. That's what everybody's going to be focusing on. Yen is going to be very secondary until the NFPs. We are basically, ironically enough, yes, it was kind of a dovish Fed statement, but yen has done not much either way. It's sort of found its home at this 98 level, unless the NFPs are brutally bad, and that's highly unlikely. The ADP today was pretty good, so unless there's a shock, like say of a 125 print on the NFPs, I don't think the yen crawls all the way down to 97s because there's natural support here, at least at this level. But we'll have to see. For now, you can see this 98 level is the key support level. 97.50, 98 is where we float. We start breaking below that, that opens up the possibility of a 96. On a longer term basis, if you look at this technically, it is definitely a negative construct. You have higher low, lower high, a lower high, and then a consolidation with a break to the downside could create a much more negative pattern. So certainly worth watching. But it could also be a consolidation. We could turn ourselves back up. Yen is clearly in no man's land right now. Pound rejected off the 54s, came back looking relatively weak, certainly weaker than the euro. 150 is the key support level here. Tomorrow is also the BOE meeting. Not much expected there, but here again, potential for surprise. If the BOE in any way, shape, or form communicates that they want to lower rates, do more monetary stimulus, are not really afraid of additional QE, all of that triggers a downfall in the pound and could push us all the way down to the 150 level. If, on the other hand, they sound sort of a much more hawkish tone, saying this is it, we're done with QE, there will be no more additional stimulus, and we're going to start thinking about tapering, that could be much more positive, and we could come back right up to the 53 level. So lots of event risk tomorrow, both in pound and the euro, for us to examine. Aussie may have finally caught a breath. Hard to say. Certainly broke the 90 level, which is very ominous. But this is after 3 days of downside price action, so it's not inconceivable that we could sort of consolidate here and possibly try to trade back up to the 90s. The Chinese data today was modestly bullish, something like I think 6 out of 8 subcomponents were actually positive. So they could be, and the Australian data was relatively okay. Aussie's still under a massive amount of pressure to the downside. There's still fear that the RBA is going to cut rates next Tuesday. But for the time being, it could just be a day of pause for the Aussie. It could also be a day of relative strength for the Aussie, where we come back from these vicious moves to the upside. So if you look at where's my Euro Aussie? If you look at Euro Aussie, look at this move. Um, it's itching to be corrected just a little bit, just simply on an extension basis. So here, potential trade back through the 48s on a corrective move in the Aussie. Certainly, that's possible. By the way, if ECB tomorrow communicates something negative, that could be actually short euro against Aussie on some unexpectedly negative euro news. Could be an interesting trade tomorrow, just simply because the Aussie is so oversold that it's going to stay stationary while the euro sells off. And then the other trade that's certainly had just a one-way ticket to the downside. I don't think I have it. Yeah, here it is. I do Aussie CAD. Um, very much to the downside. But again, here 92 kind of holding. We did test it to the downside early in Asia, but so far the bids have kind of held, and it may be just a consolidation. This is by no means saying that the Aussie has reached the bottom, but it may be reaching sort of a short-term spike bottom for the next 24 hours. So just worth watching it on a relative basis. That's all I'm saying, is that the Aussie may be a trade on a relative basis. That's kind of how the day shapes up. A lot of interesting stuff going on. Wishing you guys the best of luck and the best of trading. This is Boris Schlossberg over and out.